Got Edgar Mills on, and this is a guy that I have been following for a minute, Osprey Shooting. Now, he's got a lot more going on. He's got the Junto podcast. He's got the Blackjack 33 Club. He's got a lot of interesting things going on, and I think that you should be following. Now, the reason why I wanted him come on is I think he's a very complex thinker, but he's also very articulate in that he can speak to the layman. And I mean that because I've listened to his podcast and I've read some of his blogs. And look, he just had one where he's talking about Pythagoras. He's talking about the sophists. He's talking about, George Berkeley. He's talking about Immanuel Kant. I mean, these speak to me. I love this stuff. I am a armchair philosopher, not that bright, but I'll tell you, there are people who know how to shine. And you don't expect it from certain communities. And I love it because you get these guys who are knuckle draggers, right? But I think Edgar is a guy who you think, okay, he reminds you of John Boy Walton, right, from the Waltons. He's a Southern boy, but at the same time, he is talking about very interesting subjects, which I think we all should be following, which is, again, manhood, boyhood, brotherhood, DEI, even the election. So let's get into it. Edgar, how are you, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor when somebody reaches out and asks me to come on.
Well, absolutely. I wanted to have you on. And so, guys, so I had sent him a DM. And I said, your last blog post I read. And I liked it. And what he was stating in that the idea he's conveying. And if I get it right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Edgar, he said, be careful of the yardstick you use, the measure you use against other people, because it could be flipped back at you. We tend to hold these guys to a higher standard, these soft heroes, but at the same time, what if it comes back on us if we are in the spotlight? Is that correct? Did I understand that?
To that degree, yeah. That's it essentially. That whole blog was talking about kind of judgment, really. And there's a lot of dudes, unfortunately, in the special operations space. There's some dudes they're young, they haven't been humbled yet, and they're very fucking judgmental. And look, man, I've lost enough to know. I was humbled early in the game. You know what I'm saying? Early in life. So what comes off, just be careful how you judge people, man. Because one, everybody's got something going on inside their brain that you don't know anything about. And two, skill as it is, not everybody is a ultra runner. Do you know what I mean? Like, so everybody's got value. And that's the thing I'm learning as I get older. Is everybody's got some value somewhere. There, you can find value in everybody if you look. So yeah, be careful, man, with judgment. Because
I agree.
It's going to come back on you sooner or later.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. I mean, a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about your career. I want to talk about your influences in Blackjack 33, naming one of them. I want to talk about boyhood, and I want to talk about really podcasts and some of the writing that you're doing. And of course, the podcast you're doing, because you're touching on a lot of things that I enjoy learning about. And I'm not an expert, but you impress me in that you actually take the time to research and to speak about it and to learn. That's the coolest thing when someone's learning. And you're not saying you're a SME, but you're saying, hey, I am trying to understand the world, and this is how I view it. This is through my lens. But you also do it through the lens of objectivity. It's not subjective. And so you're trying to impart your knowledge and therefore make men wise. And that's, to me, commendable. So let's get into that, man. Let's talk about shaping your life. But let's talk about Blackjack 33. That was a fascinating story. For anyone who doesn't know, it's on his page, Osprey Shooting Solutions, and there's that Blackjack 33 origin story. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how that shaped you?
Yeah, man. So what I got on the website, that's it, man. When I was very young, my uncle was a 5th group Green Beret in Vietnam, and he was on a mobile guerrilla Mike Force. That's what he did, and he was on his 3rd tour. Well, he did 2 tours. Came home, was a school teacher. His team went back over. He said, "Okay, he stopped being a school teacher, went back, and went back in and went back over. And he was on his third tour when he got killed. Well, you know, back in those days, man, like the government just send you a letter to the wife, you know, hey, we're sorry for your loss. And that's it.
Mhm.
So nobody really knew what or how. I'm sure his teammates knew. Well, I know his teammates knew because when I was in the Q course, yeah, I was in the Special Operations Museum looking at the books, and I saw a Blackjack 33 book, and I thought, man, that's crazy, because I knew that was because there was a database early in the days of the internet in the late 90s. You know, finding things wasn't nearly as easy as it is now,
Yeah.
right? But I stumbled across a database of all the SF guys that were killed in Vietnam, and it had the location, the operation name, friggin' the base camp they were at, you know, and all those things. So I found my uncle, and I thought, man, this is just awesome. So I told my family, hey, check it out, I found this. So when I come across Blackjack 33, the book, because it was Operation Blackjack 33, I picked it up, man. Like chapter 2, there's firsthand account. My uncle getting, I mean, yeah, he was getting killed, but still, it was like,
Yeah.
oh man, it blew my mind. And I brought like 5 copies, man, immediately, and sent them out to like my Aunt Betty and all my family. And like my wife the next day is like, babe, do you think you should have sent that to Aunt Betty? Because it was a very graphic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he died like a hero. He got smoked up by some Chinese. I mean, he was laying up against a tree, breathing his last breath, you know, fighting till the end, all that stuff. And the author of that was Jim Donahue, and he was the medic on that team. And my uncle was the 18 Echo or the commo guy, you know, at the time. Man, to see that while in the Q course blew my mind, man. And that was the motivation right there. Well, I was already motivated to be where I was at, but that right there, man. And so the logo that's on the coin, I made that logo up. I got a tattoo of it on my arm right here, but I didn't get the tattoo until after I graduated the Q course.
Yeah.
Hey, the whole time I was in training, I thought that like at any minute I could not make, like, I was challenged most of the time. Selection was challenging for me physically, and but I was coming from the 82nd, so I was like, you know what? I'd rather have a bad day in selection than a good day in the 82nd. So the Blackjack 33. So I wanted some way to commemorate my uncle, because all I remember, I never met the guy. He died in 1967. I was born in 1972. But all I remember is this huge picture in my aunt's house, and my uncle's standing there. He's got his arms on his hips. And he's got this shit-eating grin, and he's wearing aviator, and his green beret's all cocked. And that was like, I may as well have been looking at Superman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the way. So I felt like I needed to commemorate that. So now we have the Blackjack 33 Club. When you got to shoot a 90% or better on my drill, my Blackjack 33 drill. Then you get a challenge coin. And hey, America, nobody has a challenge coin yet. It's a hard drill.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, you know, what he's talking about is that he basically said, Edgar saying that as a young boy throughout his youth and his adulthood, that he was influenced by this legend, right? I mean, he hadn't even met his uncle, but it's a powerful story about how a man can influence a young man to go on and do some pretty cool stuff. And that's really important, especially in a nation where there was for a long time a crisis of confidence for young boys. And now we're talking about, because one of the podcasts you did was on DEI. You're talking about this whole movement, the LGBTQ movement, and basically, it's removing objective truth and pushing this subjective truth. And I liked how you were influenced by that. And you said, many years of good and bad decisions, which led you to joining the Army. So I want to tie that in with just your youth. Did you have a mentor growing up? Was it your dad? Was it your mom? Was it an uncle that hadn't passed? I mean, who was it?
Well, no. I'll go ahead and tell you that my whole family composition was pretty much what people might consider poor white trash. And that was the whole lot, right? And I'll give you, for instance, my mom and my dad married brother and sister from the so my mom's brother married my dad's sister, right? They all lived in the same neighborhood in like Cabbagetown in Atlanta, and our little 5 Points. And so they all lived on the same block. So that's how my family came up. We were super tight for sure. But look, man, even in my generation, I'm only 53, but I still consider myself young. But there was no talk of going to college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that just wasn't a thing. You're just going to, my dad worked for the city of Atlanta for 35 years in the streets and highways. You know what I'm saying? So, I didn't, and my dad was a good guy. Don't get me wrong. Yes, he was a great guy. Rest his soul. But he wasn't much of a mentor. He didn't have the tools, man. His dad was my granddad on his side. He had like a secret family in like Michigan or somewhere. It was whatever. He was a truck driver, you know? So I would love to say my dad influenced me a lot in my adulthood, but as a child, I was completely unsupervised, and an only child, by the way. So like wildly unsupervised. Yeah.
I can only imagine.
So my granddad was the closest thing. My granddad on my mom's side was the closest thing I would say was like a mentor and like proper caregiver. And he loved me because I was only a kid, and my grandma and my granddad divorced. So I still would go live with him like during the summers and other things. But he also they all grew up, and like my aunt and uncle got divorced on the brother and sister that married, you know, they got divorced fucking 4 decades ago, but they all go to the same family functions and you know, Halloween parties and stuff, you know what I mean? So everybody's always been real close. But I got to be honest with you, man. I was like a G.I. Joe kid. My Uncle Jimmy was my far away like superhero.
Yeah.
I played with G.I. Joes, and my granddad obviously knew my Uncle Jimmy very well, and he loved him. He always talked about how great of a guy he was. So even when I was a kid, man, it was going to be either the Army, or I also had a talent for art. But that was a thing that was never developed because nobody ever considered that an avenue for making a living or happiness or whatever else. So it was almost always going to be the military. And that's it.
Now, how about faith? I mean, were you a person infused with some kind of faith, a belief system? Did your parents take you to church, or grandpappy, or how did that work out? And how did that shape you? Or is that something you picked up later on in life? So, you know, what kind of faith?
Generally speaking, yeah, the whole family was Southern Baptist, generally speaking, but nobody went to church. And there would be periods of time when people would go to church and not, but there was also a lot of heavy drinkers. That jobs would be in Southern Baptist, by the way. So no, man, we didn't grow up like in the church or in faith. I've always believed in Jesus just because that's what I learned early. But I can tell you when I really felt, and this is hard to explain to anybody who hasn't never felt. I'm going to say the Spirit, bro. I'm just going to say it. The first time I felt that was I was actually at a church, and I was probably 16, and I was going to church with my now wife, girlfriend. And it was a Wednesday night thing, and I don't know what I was feeling. I don't know what, but I got friggin' overwhelmed with joy and elation and just like, oh my God, the world's great. I want to share. But let me tell you what ruined me and what took it decades longer. I had an Aunt Jackie, and she was so awesome. She was fun, but she was a madam. She ran prostitutes in Metro Atlanta, we'll say. And my cousin Kathy, me and her were real close. And Kathy was about my age or a year older than me. So she was driving before I was driving. And I was over there at their house, which was also the place, right? It's like an 8-bedroom, you know, really nice house in suburban Cobb County. And so we were going to go to the mall or something, man. And I'm flipping through my Aunt Jackie's clientele book because back then everything was handwritten, bud. And I saw a familiar name, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I flipped the page. I see another familiar. And these men were on staff at my church.
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck?" And that was it, man. I used that for years to just be like, church is fucking no good. It took me decades to realize that the weight of Christianity isn't on some dude, some deacon who goes, whoring. He don't carry the rucksack for Christianity, right?
Right.
But I blame that. And that was a thing I used for a long time. So yeah, man, just as I got older and my kids started to grow, and I tell you what, you get your values from somewhere, correct?
That's right.
Where so I started to examine where am I getting my values from? It's not like pagan Norse gods. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's not like I don't dance around in the woods naked with chickens and stuff. So it's not that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of contrast and comparison on religions. Me and my wife are currently in a thing right now where we're looking at, you keep hearing about the Ethiopian Bible with all these lost books and all this.
Yeah.
And I posed that question to my pastor, who happens to be my barber as well. And I ain't saying he didn't have a good answer, but he had to like do a little research.
Do you follow Wes Huff at all?
No.
Wesley Huff, go check him out. So he is a scholar, and he's a Christian scholar. He's on Joe Rogan. Basically, real quick, he's an apologist, and he's a Canadian apologist. So he studies manuscripts in the 1st and 2nd century, but he answers that. He answers a question on missing Bibles, the Ethiopian Bible, etc. Now, what's fascinating was he was a nobody, really. If you talk about the social media space, he had about 30,000 followers, maybe 15,000 followers. But he got into a debate on YouTube, which blew up to 4 or 5 million views, which one guy was arguing for ancient aliens, and Wes didn't even know. He was just invited and politely, diplomatically schooled the other guy. And that video went viral, and then he ended up on, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and all these other podcasts. And the guy's very erudite. He's very articulate. So
sorry, man, I lost you there for a sec. All right, I'm still listening.
Yeah,
and I pulled him up.
Definitely check Wes Huff out. I'll send you a link, but I think you like that. But as far as how that guides you, which is your worldview, and when we look at your blog, we're like, okay, what's going on here? There's a lot going on. You're talking about, as I said, you're talking about philosophers. You're talking about deep thinkers. You're talking about writers. You're talking about people who have changed the way other people think. Rene Descartes. You're talking about Kant. So where did that come from? Did that come from college? Did that come from before in junior high, just reading books, like trying to find an answer? Where did that come from?
Brother, over the course of 25 years, I've managed to amass like 59 college credits and I wasn't a college guy.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not an intellectual. And yes, I'm barely educated.
But you were driven to, because some people just don't even spend time doing that.
Well, because I don't want to settle in my lack of education, right? I don't want to settle and just be happily dumb or have people talking above me in a space where not where I should be the smartest guy. You're never the smartest guy in the room, but I don't want to have to turn around and go look shit up, right? Yeah. When people are talking about deep things or something meaningful or something where I might be missing the bigger picture. But I can tell you why I started writing the blogs is because it compels me to go do research that I wouldn't ordinarily do just sitting around shooting guns.
Yeah.
And then in the podcast, so I got two friends, Justin and Corey, who they wanted to do a Junto club thing, like really in the vein of Benjamin Franklin, where we go, link up once a month at a pub and invite a couple of dudes and try to figure out how to just do business, make our businesses better, or what should our kids be? What's the best thing for what sports are we going to be doing? How to enhance ourselves? But then like quickly, that was like, well, how do we spread the goodness?
Yeah.
And then they were like, we got to do a podcast. Well, those two still have smallish kids.
Mhm.
All my kids are grown, man. My buddy Corey's got like 5 kids, so that joker is never around. And my buddy Justin, he's got a daughter in competitive dance and a son in competitive wrestling, like middle school age. Right now, he's, I don't know, in Pennsylvania or somewhere doing wrestling tournaments. So the podcast fell on to me, and I was very hesitant, man, very hesitant at first. But I knew based on, I stuck with Junto. And why did I stick with Junto, man? Because so I could talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. You can only talk about shooting guns so much.
Yeah.
And you can only talk about training methodology or being tough or how hard was selection. You know what I'm saying?
But why did you not want to do the podcast? You said, what was the driving?
I didn't want to be, it's only audio. You know what I mean? I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do it audio just for my target audience is dudes who are driving to work, man. Put the podcast on. Usually they're about an hour. Sometimes they go a little longer. But yeah, I try to keep it short, kind of filled with, my opinion, but also I think I do a good job of presenting the other side, whichever side that is.
Well, I think you do a good job. I mean, again, you're presenting your opinion, but it's wrapped in logic, right? It's wrapped in evidence. So it is subjective, but it is objective in that you're driving to a point, which I like. Let's go ahead and talk about your career, and then we'll go from your career to GWAT and transition, and then the blog. So,
damn, I keep losing you, man. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
I think it's my connection. I got a shitty connection.
Yeah, no worries. So as far as your career, I mean, how did that work out? So when did you enlist? What year, and when did you separate? You said it was 25 years. So what
I did 25 years, man. I went in 1990 and did it like 2 years.
Yeah.
On the nose and got out. I missed Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me back it up. I'm colorblind. So you can see how that might present a problem, right? Yeah. So I wanted to go in and I wanted to join the infantry and go off and do infantry things. I couldn't get that job. But you know how recruiters, man, they want to keep you. Hey man, hold on. I said, look, I want to join the Army because I had visions of John Wayne, brother. I want to go be a soldier. And then I said, if I can't be an infantryman, what can I be and still be? And he's like, eh. So I had 2 jobs available to me. One of them was ironically, was an optometry lab.
Yeah.
And then the other, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to share it with the world. There's probably like 3 people who know what my old MOS was.
Refrigerator repair or laundry service.
Anyway, I said, look, man, since we've already done this, because we went through all the MEPs and all the things.
Yeah.
I was like, just give me whatever has the shortest enlistment term. And at the time, it was 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So went to basic training, went to Nuremberg, Germany. It was awesome. But I hated life. I hated every minute of every day because I was because of the nature of the job I was in. Nobody was interested in working hard. Nobody wanted to get dirty. Nobody wanted to shoot guns. It was not what I imagined the Army to be. And I don't know where you were at during that time, but back then, as soon as the Desert Storm thing was over, right on the front page of the Army Times, like take the money and run. They were offering people. And so my time was coming up. They were like, hey, you want to go ahead and start your paperwork? I was like, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out, came back home. I was a bicycle messenger and a bouncer for about 4 years. And I would probably today still be a bicycle messenger. Probably. It was my favorite job besides being a Green Beret. And guess what? No, son number 1 got put in the oven. And my wife was like, you got to get a real job. You can't do this anymore. So one of my bike messenger buddies, he was a former Ranger. And we used to go out drinking and fighting. And one day I was like, hey man, let's re-enlist. He was like, yeah, let's do it. He went and told his wife. She was like, nah. So I re-enlisted anyway.
Yeah.
And because I had a son to think about now, which, you know, the Army, yeah, man, you're gone a lot, you know what I mean? But you got your health insurance and you got, you know, people who want to do all these big, deep philosophical things about, oh, you're just a robot for the man. Whatever, man, it's a fucking job. And I signed a contract and they gave me free health care for my wife. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it from that perspective, no heroic stuff, it's a job and it's got pretty good benefits and you got pretty good opportunity to get education or do the other things. So I came back in as an infantryman, and every single enlistment term, I was like, all right, this is the last one, I'm out of here. Then came, I went to selection in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
I was very unsure of myself. I'm a confident, borderline overconfident guy,
Mm-hmm.
but I had such a built up thing about selection and SF that I was like, man, I'll give it a try, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And every day during selection, I was just like, man, I'm still here. I wasn't going to quit, right? I mean, that's it. So just every day, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm still here. And back then, the cadre, you know, they didn't give you any instruction. It was just like, all right, you know, show up with your running shoes on, run that way until we tell you to stop. Yeah, okay. So I ran that way until I stopped. I got selected. It took me 5 more years. So I got selected and I had security. So as a bike messenger, it turns out there was a pending felony hanging over my head.
Yeah.
That I was unsure about, but it was from a fight. And that thing got bound over, you know, in court. So what happened was it got bound over and then sat on the court at Fulton County Superior Court untouched for literally years. I had to get a lawyer. It cost me about $5,000 to get that square. But my first trip to Afghanistan was in 2003 with the 82nd. And then my security clearance, all that stuff got settled. My lawyer was handling business in the background. And when I got back, or no, not even when I got back, my lawyer emailed me, or somehow I knew that I had my security. Oh, my S2 told me. Yeah, my S2 was like, hey, man, your security clearance came in. I was like, I got back in September of 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And in October of 2003, I was signing into the Q course. Yeah. So I graduated Q course in 2004. And at that time, you know, you did all your stuff. Then you went to language school. So then language school was about another, 6 months or so. And then I had little mandatory retraining because it was Arabic. And I didn't pass the first go. And then I went to Germany, 1st Battalion, 10th Group, Stuttgart, or Boblingen, you know. And that was it, man. And then I was just SF after that. I went to SOCOM for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was either going to get SWICT or, you know, I had to do my staff or my whatever time. So I went to SOCOM instead, took their instructor training course, which was far more civilized, and did the marksmanship program there. And it was fun. And then I was also the operations sergeant for the Senior Enlisted Academy, the Special Operations Sergeant Major course. So I was an E8 at that time, and I was like the lowest ranking dude on MacDill Air Force Base. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than like the little Air Force, gate guards. So that was an enlightening experience. I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but being around. So JSOW, Joint Special Operations University, there are like doctorate level dudes walking around those hallways speaking at doctorate levels. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I felt completely out of place there. So that was when I started getting a clue that like maybe I need to do some self-study. Maybe I need to start trying to get a little. I used to hate intellectual people because I thought it was done in a superior way, like I'm so much more superior than you kind of way. I used to have a huge chip on my shoulder, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not better than me. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
It took me a long time to get rid of that, even as an adult, man. Like if I felt like somebody was trying to talk down to me, I start seeing red, my eyes start crossing, and you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I do.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I thought the best way to mitigate that is just actually fucking learn some things.
Yeah.
Learn the language.
So you were learning Arabic. What was GWAT like for you, man? I know that you went over to Iraq and Afghanistan a couple times and you did some pumps other places, but I mean, what was your take on that? Was some pretty interesting stories for you? And also what was transition like?
Well, first of all, I never spoke a word in Arabic while deployed to combat.
Yeah.
I only went to Iraq twice. One was a long trip.
Yeah.
And one was just like a 2 month little short trip. And then I went to Afghanistan like 6 times. A couple of long trips. Well, one with the 82nd was like 11 months long-ish or 10 or 11 months long. And then after that it was with 1st Battalion. I did a short trip. They sent me and my team leader on a PDSS to Afghanistan. 1st Battalion was not in the rotation with all the other groups. Even 10th Maine, 1st Battalion was not in that loop. So we weren't going back and forth. Admiral McCraven, who was the SOCOM commander at the time,
yeah,
he told our commanders, like, look, man, we're going to get you in the fight somehow. Well, it was with some kind of greasy deal with ISAF. And ISAF is 2 thumbs down because it's just a bunch of we were part of the special operations element with ISAF, right? But you still had to get approvals from some French, whoever the commander of the SOCC, the Special Operations Command and Control element was at the time. That's who you had to convince to let you go do whatever operation you could do. But anyway, me and my team leader went over there on a PDSS. We ended up being over there for almost 2 months because our guidance, check this out, man, and I'm not bullshitting you. The guidance was, hey, you guys go to Afghanistan and find us some work. We flew into Kabul, got off, and then we started thumbing rides the whole time we were there. We had to catch, like, back then, Blackwater had like a male birds that would fly around. Yeah. We're like, hey, man, you going west? You going to Farah? We're like, how much you weigh? All right, hop on. Man, it was crazy. So we ended up finding, we ended up doing it. And then Task Force Atlas became a thing eventually. That was weird. That was a weird deployment. And then when we went back and deployed, we were doing just weird we were in Kabul. And the ISAF thought we were some kind of strike force, some kind of hit team. They would get some piece of marginal information and then be like, hey, can you guys go? And all right, we'd spin up, go jump in our little Toyota Previa van, all gooned up, go hop out at some hotel, pick some dude up, and that was it. And then wasn't even the right guy. Things like that. It was weird. Yeah. A lot of door kicking, but not a whole lot of killing. I mean, I don't want to say killing flippantly, by the way. I'm just saying. It was a lot of.
Yeah, I get your point.
A lot of weird ops, Yeah. Yeah, man. And then, there's some stories here and there. I only been in, maybe 8 or 10 firefights in my whole career. One of them that stands out, was the last rotation we did. And that was, if you know anything about at Kunduz, northern sort of Afghanistan, my team was up north. We were based in Mazar-e Sharif, and that happened to be a German base, but it was a major airfield, So like you can land all the birds there and stuff like that. But we operated in the north, and Kunduz was a regular occurrence up there
Mhm.
because that's where all the bad guys were. So the most notable firefight, well, the longest firefight I was ever in was there. And it was like a 9-hour, peaks and valleys,
Yep.
lulls and whatever. But it was just, man, it went on and on and on and on. We lost two of the 3 partners that got shot on that. We had a truck that my come to Jesus, well, not my oh shit pucker factor moment was when we were going to secure the HLZ for the medevac for the partner force guys.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I send the team out to go secure it. And I hear roll over. And it's like, fuck. And it took me about 10 seconds to, like, I'm trying to solve a problem. I mean, no shit, in that 10 seconds, I was like, man, how am I going to tell so-and-so's wife? You know what I mean? And then about 13 seconds later, hey, it was only a partial. We're good. We're on foot. I was like, oh, man, thank God. So the truck was kind of halfway dipped into a big, there's friggin' trenches all along the sides of the roads in those villages. So the truck with the ass end was off the ground. The front end was in the ditch, but it didn't roll all the way over. Whoo, man. That was where any gray hair that I got came from that right there. And then it was a wildly successful endeavor. Like, none of our dudes got hurt or killed. And we were exposed, man. We got our warrant officer put us in for Bronze Stars with Valor. Where do you think the biggest kickback came from that? Yeah, Battalion Sergeant Major. And he was like, well, nobody got killed. Oh man, I lost my mind. And there was a big point of contention there for a little while between 0223 and the SODF. Like, oh, nobody that's the standard now, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we end up getting our comms with Valor, which whatever. I don't care. But the point is,
Right.
that the award system's kind of weird. It's very subjective.
Oh yeah. I was actually moving furniture with a colonel, and he worked at the Pentagon, and he was giving out awards and all that other stuff. And I said, you are a super fit dude. What do you do? I mean, at your rank, why are you moving furniture? We were working for a veteran-owned business. I said, because I want to get away from the Pentagon. I mean, the crap I got to deal with to get away from all those people in the office and just to lift furniture and mindless stuff with young guys and get away from reading these awards and downgrading them. It's hard. It's tough mentally,
Yeah. That
because
was
there's a buy-in. You actually care about some of these stories you're reading about.
Yeah. And that was a very emotional thing for me, because when our warrant suggested it, he was like, I'm gonna put the team in, and a couple of the infantry guys too, by the way, that were with us. And once, man, the hoops that they put, we had to write up our own awards, and then it had to get red penned by the staff, sent back, corrected, sent up, red penned by the staff, sent back. At that point, you're like, just fucking keep it. You know what I mean? Never mind.
Yeah.
But it became one of those battles. We got invested in that battle because they didn't have a compelling reason. You know what I mean? He was that sergeant major, who, by the way, I'm not going to name his name, but he was bipolar. He was comparing that firefight to whatever firefight he had back in the day,
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, we did this, we did that. But I was like, well, this,
Different
okay,
situation.
whatever.
Yeah.
It was a different thing. Anyway,
so
I don't know how I got off on that. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's all good. I mean, really, it paints a picture for transition. I mean, what was that like? You knew your time was coming sooner or later. 25 years in, and you got into SOCOM. And I mean, how did that work for transitioning out? You just want to do 25 years, or was there a trigger, some type of event that said, I'm out of here?
No, I'll tell you, I was going to retire at 20 down in SOCOM.
Okay.
And guess what they did? And the same thing they did every enlistment. When you're a Green Beret, you hit 19 years, they've got this $150,000 bonus to get you to stay around for 6 more years. And the sentence wasn't out of my mouth before my wife said, "Take it." I was like, "But babe, that's yeah." I was like, "That's
a lot of money.
I was like, "That's 6 more years." You
Yeah.
do the math. That's not that. And she's like, "Take it."
Yeah.
So I was going to retire at SOCOM in Florida.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then that plan changed. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to at least stay in Florida because I'm from Georgia, right? And that's where we're at. So I was like, well, at least we'll be close to home. I'm going to try to stay in Florida, go to 7th group. I made had this conversation with my wife. Hey, babe, this is what I want to do. She's like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. So Master Sergeant Edgar Mills, cold calls, both group sergeant majors. Hey, I know you don't know. Well, my group sergeant major knew me, but the 7th group sergeant major didn't. Hey, I know you don't know me, but I'm here at JSAL, and I'm getting ready to go back to group. My time's about up. I want to change groups. And both sergeant majors said, yeah, get a thumbs up from the other guy, and we'll make it happen. Okay, boom. Locked in, going to 7th group. Okay. J1 calls me up about 2 weeks before they were going to cut my orders. They were getting everything in order. And she calls me up and says, Hey, Sergeant Mills, we're getting ready to cut these orders. Is there any last minute things that we need to put in here? You know, like EP, what is it? EM, when you got special needs and stuff. They were trying to make sure all the things were covered. So I went home. I said, let me give you a call tomorrow. I went home, sat down at dinner time with my family. All right, guys, they're getting ready to cut orders. We're going to be going to Florida. And all I got was poopy faces. Everybody wanted to go back to Colorado. And I look at my wife. I'm like, babe. She's like, yeah, we want to go back to Colorado.
Yeah.
I called the J1. Say, hey, put a pause on that for a minute. Made 2 more phone calls. Hey, Sergeant Major, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm so sorry that my wife overruled you. And nobody was happy about that.
Yeah.
But I went back to 10th group. Yeah, that's the way it had to be.
Yeah.
That's the way it had to be. So that didn't put me in anybody's good graces, except my family. But
of course, and that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is important. And the older you get, the more important it gets. But
of course.
So that's what happened. I went back to 10th group, B team ops sergeant for a year, deployed as a B team ops sergeant. That was in 2015. B team ops for a year, and then took a team until I retired in 2020, and deployed a couple times. Deployed as a B team ops sergeant, deployed as an ODA.
So that was pretty recent, man. So I mean, what was it like getting that? I mean, did you have plans worked out in your mind? What you're going to be doing?
I retired in 2020. I started my shooting business in 2017, and me and my son had already kind of decided that we're going to pursue that side hustle, clearly. But
was it slow going?
No.
Oh, really?
The only slowness about it in Colorado was that I had to deploy and train, and I still had a job.
Yeah.
So I had, so we worked very hard to build, and we did build a good little core of clients, and we had good courses going, and the range that we were going to was very user friendly. And because we didn't know when I retired, we still didn't know. We thought we might stay in Colorado. Well, I don't know how much you've spent time in Colorado, but the politics started getting a little wonky. And I happen not to be very much of a cold weather guy. Like I like the sun and the heat. Ironically, I was a mountain team sergeant in Colorado, so we were always fucking 10,000 feet, freezing. But anyway, we made the decision that we wanted to move back to Georgia. So that was in 2020, like summer and fall. We moved back, started from scratch. Then my kids eventually all filtered back. My daughter was in college. One of my sons my older son was on a wild, crazy thing, but he had a girlfriend that's now his wife, thank God. But and then my younger son had a job that, it was a good job. So eventually they all kind of filtered back in. So they're all here now.
Nice.
So transitioning though. Okay, so let me say this. I think the Army has come a long way in transitioning people. They've got all these job programs and they've got all these like training things. And for some reason they try to make everybody become truck drivers. But there's all kind of, there's school opportunities. There's internships with Fortune 500 companies. They've got all kind of cool programs. But what don't they have when you're transitioning? They don't have anything addressing entrepreneurial endeavors. Like, hey, I want to go do my own thing. How can I show me the roadmap for that? And they don't have it. So I already had my business going, and the whole time, I was skipping like all these mandatory classes on, how to get a job, shit like that. Because I knew that I was just going to stick with my business, and that's what I did. Thick or thin, slow or packed out, whatever it is, this is what I'm doing. So I'm doing it. Yeah.
So you're doing it now, and it's going well for you. It looks like you fill up the classes. I mean, what I've seen, I've always seen some advertisement up there. But did you ever have the Jones to go back, man, to the Army, or do something that was, working with the people you knew? Looks like you got 2 instructors. Where do they come from? From your old team, or?
Well, no, they kind of come and go. One of the guys is he's a National Guard Green Beret here in Rome. Well, his company's in Alabama, but it's real close. I met him. So I did a little couple side gigs. I did like role playing at SWIC. Yeah. So that's where I met him. We just discovered through casual conversation that he lived in Rome. So we linked up when I, eventually here in Rome. And so he does tactical games. He's an elite division tactical games winner, multiple times. It's pretty good. Competitor. And then my best friend, the other guy on there, Timmy, he lives up in North Carolina. He would train with us out in Colorado, but once we retired about the same time, he went to North Carolina. I came to Georgia. So I got him on there because he's my best friend. But every now and then if he's around, we'll train together. But he also works in a unique course at SWIC. And there was a little while there I was offering a lock picking class for invite only. And he worked in that course. So yeah, he helped with that a little bit. And I don't do that anymore. I felt like that was a little, I don't know, teach people how to pick locks. It's a little shady, I guess. I can't vet everybody. That's what initially it was invite only, but I can't vet everybody. So I'm not going to, that's a skill that if you want to learn it, go learn it.
Yeah, you got to be connected to vet people. But let's go ahead and talk about blogging, man, and the podcast. And what I want to drive at is, what do you value? Because I know, the discourse that you have, you start to discover as you do a podcast and as you write who you are as a person. So let's talk about what came first, the blog or the podcast?
The blog did. Yeah. Okay. And I'll tell you why. I think what I discovered at first was just shooting stuff. I was writing blogs just on training and like, these kind of fraudster, tactical dudes who are teaching bullshit.
Yeah, that drives me up the wall.
But then I've always been a fairly good writer, good at writing, right? Because I use a Microsoft like editor, right? If it comes out where it's like a 3rd grade level, I'm not going to send it, man. I'll rework it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think I'm pretty good about editing and making sure everything's structured right. I like to write because I can use more colorful and articulate language. Because when people hear a guy with a Southern accent, there's a lot of subconscious bias that people will apply to a guy with a Southern accent. And that is that either 1, he's dumb, or 2, possibly racist. And that the only thing you can do is hunt and fish, right? Or something like that. So
it's true.
It's true. It's not, Yeah.
Supposed to let that inner voice not come out of my head, but hey, yeah, it's true.
It's true. People have that. And sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's subconscious, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've over the years made efforts to like de-hillbilly my voice a little bit to try to be a little more, a little better spoken verbally, but sometimes I trip over my words or something, you know. So when I write, I can write a little more colorful and descriptively.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've discovered is that writing has become very therapeutic, man. Yeah, it's very therapeutic. And if I want to write about a topic, it could be something I'm passionate about. You know what I mean? And I can spend time with it, and I can research and you know, I have now developed either confirmed what I felt about it or adopted a new stance altogether. It's writing about something, and you're trying to make sure you're getting both sides, because you want to present both sides, because you may want to make an argument against one side. So to make an argument against it, you've got to present that, right? But then once you figure out why people think the way they think, shit, you may end up changing your mind, man.
But you're also writing about some interesting things. I mean, let's look at the titles, right? Paradox of Constraints, Human Cognition, the Conscious and Subconscious. You're writing about AI warfare. You're talking about, small town talk to global online with the evolution of the word of mouth. But so you've got a lot of interesting titles here, and clearly. So when you started out, I mean, you started blogging, and as you said, you want to develop your thought. And what's really important to you right now, when you look at any significant takeaways, what have you learned from writing? What have you learned? That you're not a hillbilly, number one, probably. And and that you learn that you're probably a lot sharper than you thought, maybe. But what were your takeaways?
Well, back to the first. Moreover, I'm not a hillbilly. I was born in the city, right? I was born in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I've only ever hunted like when I was 5 with my granddad, like twice. And the only animal I've ever killed was in SEER school. My dad loved fishing. I hated fishing, man.
Oh, okay.
Now I can do those things. I know I can do those things, but I don't take pleasure. Look, this may sound weak or whatever. I take no pleasure in killing an animal.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I understand. If I need to kill an animal to eat, I will definitely do that. 100%. But I take no pleasure in it, you know? So that's one thing. Where I'm at now, I'm very active in the Georgia Libertarian Party here. I'm a libertarian by politics. So I've gotten very active, and quite obviously, one of the hot topics in there is the AI and the surveillance state and those things. So I think it's, I like to get into that a little bit and like present it, not from, well, you might see a libertarian sort of bias in almost everything I write if you're looking for it. But the good thing about the libertarian bias is it's not biased at all. That's the whole beauty of the libertarian platform. Right? I don't take extreme sides, not because I'm spineless and lukewarm, but because I don't have extreme views on, well, except that I don't think the government should be running our life or anyone else for that matter. So most of the things have a libertarian lean to them. If you look way back there, you'll find one where I did a juxtaposition of objectivism. Ayn Rand, right? Her philosophy on objectivism,
right,
with Christianity, and I did a direct comparison of that.
Well, what'd you think? I mean, I hadn't read the article, but what do you think? Give me some highlights of that.
Well, I'll tell you, most people think, well, Ayn Rand was an atheist.
Yes,
and they think, well,
they're not aligned. They think a lot of conservatives tout her, a lot of Christians tout her. I'm like, well, wait a minute. She had many, many lovers, and she did not espouse those values. But I mean, what were your thoughts on that?
But the philosophy itself of objectivity.
Yes.
Other than the fact that she like absolutely believed in no faith whatsoever, like there had to be some objective proof. Okay, let me skip past that and say, hey, I have faith, but almost everything else in life, I verify, man. I need objective truth. I think it's a good philosophy, just there's a couple of flaws, right?
Yeah. You had noted again, you can't prove that the existence of God nor disprove the existence of God, and therefore we have faith, and that's why some of these apologists lean on that. As a side note, which is funny, I was at a cafe having a coffee. This guy walked in, tats down his neck, tats down on his palms, everywhere, hands, all over, and rolled up jeans, combat boots, whatever, leather jacket, looks like a biker. And I walked up and said, "Hey, man, you look like a very interesting fellow. I've got a podcast and you look like some guy I'd like to talk to." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's interesting." So he gives me a card, and it was James Giordano, who does he works for the Center for Disruptive Technology and Future Warfare, which is AI intelligence, AI, artificial intelligence and autonomy for, weapon systems. And I said, wow, this is so interesting. He's written like 30 books. So anyhow, that was just a side note. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, that was a good catch, man. That was
it was a good catch. I was just minding my own business, having a drink. I'm like, who's this cat? He either looks like a biker or something, but he was a dude like
that's interesting, man.
Yeah, but so what was your takeaways from writing? Because we develop, and I'm like you. When I write, it's cathartic. It's a way to articulate some of my views that I can't put in words because I'm not a very good speaker, I think. But I think when I write, I'm a little more, alive. I mean, what were your thoughts on that? What'd you come away with?
Well, that's it, man. I'm putting a little bit deeper thoughts on paper than what you hear on a podcast.
Yeah.
On the podcast, I'm throwing the ideas out there, and I might throw some quotes at them or whatever. I want to get people thinking, but the paper. Now, I don't always have a adjoining podcast and blog, but oftentimes I do. Yeah, man, it's just a way to get your thoughts out. Once you're in your 50s, man, you got a lot of shit swimming around up there. You got to kind of sort it all out. We don't have time in our 20s and 30s and even 40s because we're working, man. We're hustling. We're trying to feed the kids and all those things.
Mm-hmm. But how does that work out with your children too? So it sounds to me like you're very close with the kids because they're down there with you.
Yeah.
And I think that traditionally, fathers raise their sons. This is pre-industrial revolution, to think like them, to be like them. If you were a doctor, they were doctors. If you were a farmer, they were farmers. But there's a part of it where you raise your kids to think like you, and then you're just happy whatever they do as long as they're not in prison or something. But how did you manage the household? And I know your wife did a lot of the work, but how did you manage a household and infuse them with some of your POV, your point of view?
Well, what we consciously did was try to teach them how to think, not what to think.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily want them to be like me.
Okay.
Both of my boys joined the Army. I did make them join the National Guard, not the regular Army. And and then I gently guided them. So I didn't want them to join the Army at all,
mm-hmm.
but they both insisted on it. So I gently, I showed them a bunch of options and suggested maybe they go into military intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little better quality of life. You get some insight into higher level shit because they got TS clearances.
Yeah.
So they had opportunity to do these things. But they realized, the organization itself, this was a 19th group in Colorado. They were kind of, every unit's got its own sort of ups and downs, and they were a little disorganized. So the boys, they both did about 6 or 8 years and got out. So I try to, the libertarian ideals, right? I try to get my kids to value individualism. I'm not one for tribes. I'm one that if you are your best self, then you're good for everybody else. No, you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I'm on the same. I'm not for tribes. I write a lot about tribes. I speak of tribes. And I mean, if I believe in being sacrificial, right? And that's
for sure.
It's not a tribe thing. I don't do the collective. I'm not into collectivism or socialism or anything.
No. Because people people lose their minds as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it with the far right and the far left.
Oh, sure. G.B. Shaw said that. He said, man alone is a great thing, but as a group, he's nothing but a blockhead.
And that's it. And then, everybody makes the analogy of all the old Frankenstein movies, the mob with the torches. That's what it is.
It is.
You got to be I think you have to be an individual first. And to be self-interested does not mean to be selfish. It's different, right? And Ayn Rand, she has a whole thing on, and I believe in that. You can be selfish, righteously, not righteous, but not for my own ends, but that I am the best I can be for my wife or my teammates or whoever. So because if I'm not, man, then I'm a liability, right? If I'm not the best I can be, I'm a liability probably. So I believe in taking care of yourself, and there's nothing I hate more than a selfish man, especially a selfish, capable man. I hate it. It burns me up to see a guy. It burns me up to see a guy not open a door for somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Charles Barkley. He just worked me up when he said he's not a role model for anybody. I'm like, huh? You got a huge presence, man, and you don't think you're a role model?
The problem is you're a role model. Yeah.
Kids see
the problem is you're a role model for people you don't know you're a role model for.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just got to be. You just got to be good, and it's hard.
But you're family driven, and you want to lead, and you want to serve, and you want to be a father, and you want to be priestly in some way, in that sense that you are a spiritual person, but you don't impose your values on anyone else. You're hey, I'm here and I exist, but if you need some help, I'm here. But other than that, yeah.
But I absolutely don't believe. And I know a part of the Christian faith, is to spread the gospel and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said this before, probably written it, probably said it in a podcast. Just be an example, be a walking, talking example.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have an opportunity, if there's an opportunity there, hey, do you know about Jesus? Take it or leave it, and then and move on. I don't try to bash people with that, because I myself am not a perfect man. Right? We're all sinners.
Yeah, we are.
And we all, even if it's just something like envy or whatever, but never mind actually doing physical hard sin, but
I liken it to the Roman Empire. It's isolation, integration, or destruction. That's what I term it. It's when an army comes upon another army, or an empire against another empire, or whatever it is, civilization against another. You have to decide what you want to do. You can either isolate and say, hey, we don't want to deal with the Visigoths or whomever, the Gauls, or you can integrate and you can say, okay, you want to be part of us, you serve for 20 years and you become part of the Legion or whatever it may be, or you destroy them. You say, we're just going to outright kill everybody. And I think the same thing with men themselves. You can isolate, integrate, or destroy. You can find out how little or deeply you want to have a relationship with them. And I call them the families, friends, and familiars. You have those really close-knit relationships, and other people like, yeah, I'll come to you for this advice, but other than that, man, we're not going to hang out, because all you can do is drink, get me in a bar fight, get me fired from my job.
Yeah, there you
go. You have to I'm like you. I'm cautious. I'm wary, and I like to sacrifice, but I think it's important, like you're saying. So, I mean, you did that with your children, and you guided them some way. What kind of advice do you seek out? What kind of mentors do you seek out? Do you have any at all?
There's probably like 3 guys in my life I would consider mentors.
Mm-hmm.
One was a guy I served with even before SF. He's a British guy who came over. He was in a parachute regiment, and he was a recon dude. He wasn't an SAS, but he did some little higher level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him were privates together at the same time in long range surveillance detachment. But he was older, and he didn't have to tell you that he was competent. He had experience. And when we would go and do our thing, he was the guy. He became a mentor.
Yeah.
And he was one of the fittest humans I've ever seen. He was smart. He was clever. He was tactically sound. He was strategically minded. I tell people all the time, yeah, I'm tactically sound, man, but I'm not a big strategic global thinker. So he's one of them. And then a fellow down in SOCOM, when I had the idea of starting a SOCOM Marksmanship Program, because it was dormant. It had long been dormant. He silently came out of the wood. He was a GS, whatever the highest GS you could be.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed up to the first meeting. I put it out on an all blast for SOCOM, right? Hey, we're having a meeting. If you're interested in the SOCOM Marksmanship Program, and he showed up to the meeting, didn't say a word, sat quietly. He was in his mid 60s, And then after everybody left, he pulled me to the side. Hey, man, I like what you're doing. I like the direction. I think. And when he said, I think you get it, I was like, what do I get? Because I but he was a Delta guy, it turns out.
Yeah.
Retire. And he was a 10th group guy, turns out. And in fact, he was Bravo Company 1st Battalion, which I was. But 20 years prior.
Yeah. Very cool. Stars lined up.
And he was on the board of directors at a local gun club. He's like the main guy. And he's a high level USPSA board, whatever. And me and my son started shooting with him, like competition and stuff. And he didn't have any kids. And he took to my son, man, like it was like family.
Yeah.
So, and through him, he's a smart guy, man. He delivers it though. He's a sardonic fucking dude though. And he delivers it dry and cold, man. But he's so hilarious if you get that.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I love that kind of.
Oh man. And I love it, man. Yeah. And me and him gravitated just immediately. And then, so I consider him a mentor. He officiated my son's wedding.
Very cool.
Yeah. How he was able to do that, I have no idea. He was not even a religious guy, but he was licensed somehow to officiate weddings.
Yeah.
Yep. He's a mentor. And now who's my mentor? I got a good friend named Nathan here in Rome, who he's my age. He's not older than me or anything like that, but he's a very, very thoughtful. He don't mince words. And what I'm saying by that is he's very thoughtful in what he delivers. And when he delivers, it's very calm and even. And his presence is a calming presence. And I run things by him pretty regular. Yeah, pretty regular. And he and me do a search and rescue mountaineer course together. And he's whatever all the civilian mountaineer organization. He's got all those certs. And he's an incredibly competent mountaineer. Yeah. And I was on a mountain team, but I don't have the credentials. So when he teaches the technical part of that, and I do the leadership part of that. But I'm learning something from him all the time, So I consider him sort of a friend and mentor. Yeah.
Yeah. You seem like a very capable and competent person. And as you said, you sometimes overconfident, but were there any times when you felt insecure, inadequate? And I'll tell you, one of the things I've seen with the Doge is I've spoken to a lot of people, and also with the COVID thing, was a lot of people had that low grade anxiety, what just bloomed, and boom, everyone's on edge. Like, am I going to get cut, or am I going to get fired for not taking a vaccine type thing? And I know you touched on that as well, but was there a moment that you did feel like you had what it took to do the job, or to manage your family or a team?
It's hard to say, because yes is the answer, but also I'm very just do it and make it happen. Yeah. I'm very much a make it happen kind of guy. The problem is, and the insecurities come from, am I making it happen the way my boss wants to happen? Because I wasn't very much in the lack of orders, man. I will take the ball and fucking run. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if I'm going in the wrong direction and nobody has give me an azimuth check, I can go very far, very fast in the wrong direction. That's where overconfidence collides with insecurity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm confident enough to do my thing, but am I doing it because what I also learned later in life is my boss's priorities are my priorities, right? I don't have my own agenda.
Yeah.
When it comes to being on a team, right? Now, if my team and my last team leader, the last team leader I went to combat with, his name was Greg. I called him Beautiful Mind. He was one of those rare officers who didn't talk unless he had something very pertinent and very helpful to say. Otherwise, he lets you. My leadership style, do what you do. He was a very good guy, but whatever his priorities were my priorities.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to learn that, man, because I was always battling. Because my young leadership, military leadership, I was very much us, meaning me and my squad, against them, meaning my platoon sergeant and platoon leader and the company and the battalion. Because I always thought everything, anything can always be done a little better. But if I was a combative guy.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, man. You try to be fair-minded, it seems to me. You're a libertarian. If you were to impart your values or views on people and give advice, what would you give to people how to be successful in life? It seems like you've had a good long run. You went from your military career straight into a business, and that's risky, but it looks like it's up and running. But what would you tell people who are seeking out some advice, career advice, such as, trust your gut or speak to a mentor or, journal, or what would your advice be to someone?
Well, all of the above on that, but nothing's ever going to happen if you don't start. So you got to start a thing. Now, I know too many different guys. It would be different advice to different people, man. Based on, because I know some guys that I would advise them to be very, very careful and very slow about their maneuvering because they got a potential to, like me, go the wrong way really fast. But then there's other guys I say, hey, man, just whatever you think you got, take it and run. So it depends on the personality. But, yeah, you can't do a thing if you don't start it. So starting a thing, like the podcast, for instance.
Yeah.
I was nervous about it. I don't know how many. I got 7,000, listeners or whatever. I don't know how that is. If it's that good or bad, I'm not sure. But what I figured with that was I'll start and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is, especially with the podcast, anybody can find an audience, man. If your stuff is out there, there's going to be somebody who likes what you're saying, and they're going to stick with it. So I think there's an audience. I liken podcasts of today like talk radio of the 70s. That's what I compare. There was lots of talk radio going on the AM channels, man. And Neil Bortz, man, he had that dude built a huge following. So podcasts are kind of like that. Yeah, is the market saturated? Yep. But so is the music business, right?
Yeah.
But there's still millions of acts out there putting CDs and records and downloads and whatever else out. So you will find an audience. Is it a technical skill? Well, I mean, you got to be competent in that technical skill. It depends on what you want to do, really. But I would say this, though, as far as judgment, right? We talked about judgment earlier.
Yeah.
That's a thing that will stop you in your tracks if you're not careful.
Well, let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about the vet bro life, man. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think a lot of people are waking up, and I had talked to a couple of people about this 3-4 years ago. I said, the community is going to turn. And that's just because you can only burn so bright, right? That current candle that burns so bright burns half as long. And these guys are going to basically burn out their welcome. And I think a lot of people are more savvy. You see all these other, and I don't like them. I don't prefer them. The gossipy YouTube videos are just trashing other people. I'm like, that is not my lane. I don't enjoy that, and I don't like it. But what are your thoughts on the vet bro community, and how can we navigate that space in such a way that's positive?
Well, and that's why I like the lesser known operator thing.
Yeah.
Just guys that you knew in group. Not everybody's a freaking superhero, right? Not everybody is out there telling these fantastical war stories. There's dudes, and I kind of make a joke about this. You remember the movie The Other Guys, Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg, and
Yeah.
the other guys, the guys who get up and go to work, do their thing, they go train, they put together their charges, they make comms, and they never wrote a fucking book or went on all the TV shows and did reality TV. You know what I mean? Those guys are just out there working.
Yeah.
But do they deserve to be recognized as much as anyone else does? So if you have a venue for that, good. You might see some interesting things. I try not to. If you look at now, yes, my credentials are that I'm a former Green Beret and I was the Marksmanship Program guy. That's my shooting credentials. I don't tell war stories when I'm doing classes. I don't try to ride on the veteran, I killed this many bad guys thing. Because in the gun training business, you've got to deliver the goods, man. Like, I got to be on it now. Don't matter who I was 5 years ago. I got to be on the job now. So that's why I do my blogs. Yeah, sometimes there's some reference to military stuff, but most of the time I'm not talking about military stuff or veteran life. I may talk about veteran stuff a little bit, but in a sense, like just trying to, there's a lot of veterans out there still dealing with stuff, PTSD type stuff. So I want to help that. So I'll address that. But like, yeah, man, I try to avoid the vet bro image. And the only reason I wore this shirt so I could show everybody Special Forces Foundation, because they're out of Colorado, 10th groupers, but they help with PTSD stuff, getting retiring guys on the right track to entrepreneurship, giving college grants to Gold Star kids, or whatever. But I think the community has become kind of a caricature, you know what I'm saying? A clown show almost. Because, yeah, you got the big chest beaters who are now being found out to be maybe possibly liars. And then you got all the other dudes that are making a living on calling them out.
Yes, they are.
And is it judgmental? I don't know. I don't advocate stolen valor at all. I don't advocate. Everybody embellishes a little here and there when you're sitting around the pub, right?
No, yeah, sure. You say I caught a fish and it was this big, right?
Yeah,
but to make a living off of it, that's kind of
that's
pretty bad. And the Gosby stuff, I don't like. I think it's kind of
and it's all over the place.
It's in poor taste. Now, if you're gonna do it like J.D. Burkett when he wrote his book Stolen Valor, and he's naming names like Dennis France, who was a real rifleman in Vietnam, or he's talking about your man, the sheriff from First Blood. I mean, he was fake. Brian Dennehy, who's a real liar. Yeah. And you get the receipts, and it's done in a very professional, detailed way. I think it's great. But when it's gossipy to trash someone for stolen valor, then I think you're not just as bad, but I think it's just in poor taste.
Yeah, well, I do too, man. It consumes a lot of stuff, but the masses eat it up, man. The masses eat it up.
Well, let's talk about sacred spaces, man. And I ask people about that. Where do you go for a sacred space? And when I mean that, it might be church, or is it a motorcycle ride? Is it mountain climbing? Is it what do you do to get away from the noise, man?
What do I do to get away from the noise, man? I got to be honest with you, man. It's all noise. I do love riding motorcycles.
Yeah,
but I sold. I had a Triumph Speed Twin, a 2019. I loved it. It was cool.
Yeah.
I had to sell it because I was building my range. I needed the money. I like riding motorcycles. I like riding bicycles. I used to be a bike messenger way back in the day.
Yeah,
and I do love. I mean, in the city, man. I'm not talking about fresh air in the country. I'm talking about in the city dodging and diving with cars and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that focuses you so hard
Yeah.
on one thing, and that's not getting dead. I love doing that, man. I love doing that. That's a thing that I think, yeah. And then, you know,
Cool.
I like to go to the gym and hit the heavy bag. That's my
Nice.
like zone out
Nice.
and just, and I mean, hit, you know, like the heavy bag and just beat that thing. That I get to zone out on that. I don't think about work. I don't think about anything when I'm doing that. I'm just thinking about putting good solid hits on the bag, smoking myself. I got a little like a cardio routine with that. I got different routines I do, but it's not to be a better fighter. It's fitness for sure, but I could probably, you know, I throw a good punch too, though. You know what I mean? So I like doing that
Nice.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I like being with my grandkids.
Very cool, man. So let me ask you about legacy. I mean, do you think you've done a pretty good job? I mean, you're looking at your uncle there and that legend, right? That myth that impacted you in such a very positive way. How about legacy for you? I mean, you get your podcast, you've got your blog, you've got the training you did with SOCOM. I mean, it looks like you've got a good story to tell. Do you think you've done a pretty good job? And, you know, you're a young guy too, as well.
It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the legacy for my family, right? That's the whole purpose. I'm currently in the middle right now of getting special permit, zoning permits to build a bigger range. I got a range in my yard. It's small, but we're trying to build a big professional facility. I'm trying to make that a thing that my son takes over and my grandson takes over, and so on and so on. I want it to be a family legacy.
Nice.
To leave them, a functional business that I think the training business is always going to be a thing. Because, you know, when the economy comes and goes, when crime goes up, business picks up. When crime goes down and the economy's good, people got money to go buy guns and then they go buy train. So I think I don't want to say it's recession proof, but there's always going to be police, right? And the police can come in. So there's always going to be, I think it's going to, and then as far as legacy from the military, look, I can name you 10 people that I knew in my military life, and you will get 10 vastly different opinions about whether or not I'm a gigantic asshole or whether I'm a really great guy. But the one thing you won't get is that I was a shitbag, right? Mm-hmm. My military career, I was either controversial. What am I saying here? Not controversial.
You were not
combative, argumentative.
Yeah.
I would stand on something, even though it may not have been that important, but I would stand on it till the end. I would choose my hill, and then comparison, like, turns out my hill was too small. Like, I was a very combative guy, and that's from growing up. So it was a very hot and cold. People loved me, or they hated me.
Yeah.
But I was never a shitbag, right?
But you were a fighter. I mean, you stood up for what you believed, and you came with, you know, your view, and it wasn't irrational, right? I mean, you weren't some whack guy, you know, just
it wasn't irrational.
Spew and hate.
I would say a lot of times it was. I want to say it was grounded in like, hey, this is the best way because. But then again, a lot of time it might have been some emotion behind it, because, you know, when you spend a certain amount of time developing a thing, and somebody completely discounts it, it might hurt your little feelings too a little bit, you know. So yeah. Anyway, combative. That's what I was saying. I was very combative as a subordinate.
Well, okay. So you're also doing gun training now. With that, are you just teaching people how to use guns, or are you actually teaching them to be protectors and providers and leaders or something? Is there some type of mentality behind that? You know, some type of worldview they should have culturally in their home, that they should lead in the home with, you know, a sober mind when they're handling firearms? I mean, what's your whole view on firearms?
Yeah, absolutely that, right?
Okay.
Through my teaching, because shooting is a technical skill. That's it. It's a technical skill. If you do it this way and that way, you'll put rounds on target. We talk a lot about context because whether it's self-defense, combat, police, or competition shooting, once the decision to shoot has been made, it's all technically the same, right? So it depends on what group I'm teaching as to how far I go as far as what is your responsibility to the general public.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a set of skills, which I definitely do, I feel like when I'm out in public, if I see some little old lady getting boot stomped, I'm responsible to stop. I have to stop it. I don't have an option just to go, okay, everybody, let's get safe and take a picture and call 911.
Mm-hmm.
And I think any man, well, even woman, if you have the skill, you should intervene if you see bad things happening. So yeah, I try to instill that be selfless to the point of, like, you remember the shooting in Florida, the school shooting,
Mm-hmm.
and the one RSO just hunkered down outside.
Yeah.
And then it ended up going to court, and then the court found that he had no obligation to risk his life. That's so, it blows my mind.
It does.
And you want to take the guy and go, why? Go get a job at the 7-Eleven, man. You're in the wrong business. So you need to have some mentality of a protector mentality if you're going to carry a gun. Otherwise, it's just makes your pants heavy. Like,
yeah.
Well, and then you got to ask people, what's your motivation for shooting?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody says, well, I just want to shoot better. No, that's not it. You either want to be better at competition, right? You want to learn to be more efficient, faster, or you want to be able to defend yourself the best as you possibly can, and your wife or your kids. So that's where a mindset is. Like shooting fast, that's a competitive mindset. I just want to be better than everybody else. But when it comes to self-defense, yeah, man, you got to have a protector mindset. You got to have some kind of selfless will to put yourself in harm's way to protect somebody else.
Are you influenced by others in the space, in the same shooting space? I mean, I know. Yeah. And who are your faves, and who do you dislike? You don't have to drop names, but
no, I will
their view or the mentality.
I will drop some names when it comes to shooting mechanics, just how to shoot better, professional shooting. I follow Matt Pranka.
Okay.
And Ben Stager, that whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
Those are among the best shooters out there. Technical shooters. And I would say, generally speaking, most guys that served in CAG are among the best, probably among the best guys who could continue to develop it.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Matt Pranka is a very good shooter, former CAG guy, and he competes.
And a grandmaster shooter,
yep.
Yeah, and all that.
Yep.
So I take my cues from him when it comes to training.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a guy kind of in that same little group of dudes. There's a company called Velox Training or Velox Consulting. I think his name's Nick Young.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that dude is money. He is an excellent shooter, and he explains things well. And so I take cues from him. When it comes to, it's hard to say about mindset. You know what I mean? I like, Pat McNamara.
Yeah.
He's got a big personality, and it's beyond shooting. You know, he started out as just shooting and stuff, and fitness, but he's got that, you're your own protective agent thing. And then you're the agent in charge of your own protect. But I think he kind of spreads it out a little bit a little more mindset, where you got to be ready at all times. Can you today beat yourself up yesterday?
Yeah.
Right. Are you better today than you were yesterday? So I like that guy. Let's see. Is there some other odd dudes and I follow Mike Pannone. He's also in that little group. Do you know Mike Pannone?
Yeah. I don't know him personally, but he's commented on he's liked or followed me, something like that. I don't remember.
He's a Marine. He was a former Marine.
And
First Special Forces Group, then CAG.
Yeah.
He's a professional shooter. He was big into training agencies. Once he retired from the military, training agencies and the Air Marshal program and all that. But I did a course while I was still in 2000 and probably 9. We contracted them to come out. Well, in Yuma, we went to Yuma. He came to Yuma, and we did a week-long course that he taught. Well, he was the primary instructor on. You know, he was showing me things that, like, I thought I was a pretty good shooter, and he was just showing me different concepts. Because at that time in my life, I wasn't integrating. I was still differentiating between tactical shooting and any other shooting. But I've since learned that just shooting, what you apply it to is the different thing. Yeah. So I happened to be in that course. I was the top shooter for that course, by the way, and I was very proud of that. Very cool. I won a knife that had his little Odin's eye symbol on it. Yeah. That knife was lost in the Swiss Alps.
Ah, bummer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know him, but he's a very interesting fellow, man. I've watched.
He's a straight shooter. All of those dudes that I just named, straight shooters.
Oh yeah.
There's no subterfuge.
No.
There's no bullshit.
No, there's no gameplay. They're not out there to monetize anything.
Right.
If you like it, it's because it's valuable. It's worthy. It's going to save your life or something. It's not because I'm going to create this to have that output, you know?
Yeah.
So you're right.
So as far as shooting goes, I follow those guys. And then there's another guy. I don't know him personally, and I've never trained with him. But I think he's a retired Delta guy, I think also, but he's called Hobo Forge Survival. And he does like primitive survival stuff and primitive weapons making, and he makes knives and he makes blades, and he does these like
I'll have to go check that out.
You know, SEER school-esque survival courses.
Yeah.
And I like that. He puts out good. I like his knives. You know, he puts out good stuff.
Cool.
And he's a very plain spoken. There's a common theme. The dudes that I follow, straight shooters. I don't get into the subterfuge and the.
So I've got my last question for you, which is there anything that you dislike? Could be in the tactical space, could be in the gunfighting space, could be in the vet pro community, or and if you don't want to speak poorly or say things that displease you, is there anything that is positive and a good thing that we should be checking out?
Well, what do I like? I'm gonna drop another name of another guy in another company. I just did a thing with him a couple of days ago. His name is Chris Schmidt, and he was a former commander of mine. And he has a company called Azimuth Consulting.
Okay.
There's no shooting. He does corporate level, leadership coaching.
Yeah.
But I've done a couple of things with him where he's invited me in to. This last one was to do land navigation for his crew. He did the leadership thing. They got the Berkman method. You know, they do all that. And then we did a land navigation course together. But watching that guy work, he's one of the greats, man. He's very good natured, always kind of smiling. Even when he's saying serious stuff, he's like looking at you like, he's good natured.
Yeah.
And he's an intelligent, you know, he's an educated guy. I'm not an educated guy. He's a very educated guy, but he's such a good natured guy.
Yeah.
And he interacts with these people in such a way that, man, I was just sitting back watching him like, man, I'm taking notes. You know what I mean? I'm taking notes. So Azimuth Consulting, he does, and he lives in Washington State, and he does like literally Fortune 500 company, you know, consulting.
Yeah, very cool, man.
And he graciously brings me in to get that, to give those people a view of like knuckle dragger guy who does a thing, but I got another company called Two Team Guys, and that's where we do all our leadership and teamwork, team building. But it's more outdoor stuff, you know.
Right.
We do mountaineer stuff, we do land nav stuff, but it's all with a common thread of leadership and team dynamics. We got a situational awareness course. We got a long range evasion course, which is very much tailored to civilian, not militaries. None of this stuff is military-esque. So that's a different level of leadership. That's what I would call, ground level, tactical level leadership stuff. How can you convince a guy to do a hard thing right now? Like, how can you make him want to do this thing?
Yeah.
Whereas Chris is up here at this systems and flows and personalities and all these things. So yeah, that guy, follow that guy. And he's not a social media whiz. He's a professional level guy, but, and some of his things, he takes people out on these mountain peaks up in the Northwest and as their thing, like their hard thing. Cause when you're up there, like, and you can quit if you want to, but guess what?
You
Still got to get back.
Yeah, I knew it.
You know what I mean? That's the way it is. And that's
so. Go ahead. So we're going to end now. But is there anything I didn't ask, or anything you'd like to share before we sign off?
Nah, man. I mean, yeah. Try to be the best version of yourself. It's hard to talk about humility and be humble, right? You can't say you got to be humble and then be humble, but you've got to, I want everybody out there to realize that everybody else out there, there's some value there. Whatever that value is, it might not be the same thing you do, right? He might not be able to shoot as good as you or run as fast as you, but there's some value. All these people out here, man, they have it. All you got to do is just bring it out of them a little bit, and your circle of friends will flourish. And I don't mean building big circle of friends. I mean success, personal, whether it's financial or whatever. Just people will flourish when they feel like you're supporting them, or they can.
Yeah.
So everybody's got some value, man. So nourish that value in people. Yeah, nourish the value in other people, man.
Cool.
For sure. And have good manners. Open the door.
That's very important, isn't it? That's huge.
I write that, and probably every third blog is like, "Hey, have good manners. Treat people with respect."
Yeah, you never know. You never know who you're going to meet. Let's just like this guy, James Giordano.
No, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. And yeah, a simple like, "Hey, man."
Yeah.
So
Cool. Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Edgar, thanks for coming on, man. I'm glad we got to talk. I love having guys come on. We're not just talking about cool guy stories, because that's not my vibe.
Nah,
I like to get into people, their brands, who they are, what makes them tick, and where they're going, what good they're bringing on as producers and not consumers. So I'm really glad we had you on, man.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for even finding me and noticing me and noticing my stuff.
Yeah, well, I was reading your blog, like I said, and I think if you guys are listening or viewing this, check out the blog. I think he is saying things that are very true. He's talking about objective truth. He does it from a subjective point of view, his opinion, but I think you're going to find that there's a lot of value in what he's speaking of and writing. He's pontificating, but I love it because I think we are on the same string. I do the same.
I believe that too, because I've read plenty of your stuff that you got out there.
Thanks, man.
And it's good. Yeah. So I like that. It
cool.
feels good. It feels good. Like, not necessarily like minds, but pretty close anyway.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm just going to say the website, thejuntopodcast.com.
Yeah.
That's where the blogs are. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to put them all down on the byline.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. We're going to talk offline. Guys, please like, share, subscribe, and follow the links for Edgar down below. God bless you all, and we'll talk to you soon.